Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your
Hi guys, welcome to Significant Lovers. I'm Mel.
I'm Kel.
And I'm Caitlin. And in case you didn't know, this is a true love podcast, not a true crime podcast, a true love podcast. But sometimes crimes do come up, so there's that.
True. Will there be some today? Maybe. And we're cousins. Always gotta let the new people know that. If this is your first time joining for Ellen and Portia, welcome.
Ooh.
We have over 100 other couples or episodes you can listen to as well.
Yes.
Wow. About all different types of couples. So, yeah, this is a big relationship. I mean, these two have been together for a long time. So there's a lot to say. So I feel like we should maybe get into it.
Do we have any new patrons to thank?
We do. We have new patrons that recently signed up. Want to say thanks to Faye, Freddie, Aisha, and Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Before we get into the episode, Kel, are we doing our trivia segment?
Yes.
Yes.
So, this is our favorite segment, new segment of Significant Lovers, where we do trivia about past couples we've covered from our Hall of Flames. So Mel and Kate are going to compete. I have 3 questions, and this time I will say they're all from couples that I have covered.
Okay.
Okay.
Usually I do try to do Mel's as well, but maybe this will be a little more even for
Or Caitlin's.
Caitlin. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I need to redeem myself. I feel
Well,
like
Caitlin, how many
really
couples
win.
do you have under your belt so far? 5?
4?
Well, don't forget Harry and Louie.
Oh yeah, 5
Yeah,
then.
Louis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our dad was saying, "Oh wow, you've had Caitlin do a lot of episodes lately. You're really putting her to work." And I said, "We do the same amount. We switch off.
Yeah.
She's not doing more than us. I don't know. I guess he's only listened to yours or something."
I think because it just so happened to be my turn again, so it was like recency.
Yeah.
You know, like in his head was thinking
Yeah.
I was doing a lot, but
Yeah, I never know what to say when people are like, so what are you working on now for the podcast? Do I say the next episode to come out or the next one that we're currently recording? Because we do record pretty far in advance.
we do. Yeah. So if anything crazy happens with Ellen and Portia after this, we're recording January 20th. We just didn't know.
yep.
We simply didn't know. Okay, but now for the trivia. First question. Who said this? His wish was that we could stay together, but of course we both knew that was impossible, and that's what's so very difficult about our relationship. Blank and I knew he had commitments, promises to keep, and he vowed to keep his word.
What?
Who said that?
Who said that?
Um.
And Margaret?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes
Nice.
sense.
Good job, Mel.
Oh yeah, that
1
makes
point,
sense.
Mel. I don't know if these are too easy, maybe.
No,
Guess we'll
no.
see.
Oh well. Okay. Next question. Who was proposed to and said yes, but then called it off the very next day?
Oh, Jane Austen.
Correct.
Wow. That was good, Kate.
Good job, Kate. Okay,
Yay.
we're tied.
Oh my gosh.
Last question. Someone that we covered claimed that they didn't know their relationship was over until they read about it in an article. Who
Samantha
was
Ronson?
it? No.
I was gonna guess that, huh?
Didn't know it was over. It sounds so familiar.
I feel like it could be so many people though at the same time, you know?
I know. Oh, was it Barry James O'Neill?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah,
Ding,
with
ding.
Lana Del
I don't
Rey.
remember that at all.
Lana Del Rey's ex-boyfriend. Yep.
Did he read that she was in a new relationship or something?
No, it was it was an interview, and she said that they weren't together anymore.
Oh my
He
God.
apparently didn't know that.
That's awful. All right.
This is like he hadn't heard from her in a couple days, or what? Like, what was going through his mind? Maybe I need to
I
re-listen
don't
to
know.
the episode.
We speculated in the episode what happened.
Yeah.
But Mel wins. Congrats, Mel.
But also, boo.
I wonder how many each we've won. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track.
I've definitely
I
won
know.
the least amount.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, it's you are at an unfair advantage because most of the trivia stems from conversations that Kelly and I have had. So
Yeah.
I mean, you've been a listener, but
Yeah.
it might be harder to remember.
Guess.
It is like more than listening to a podcast. I think like I remember where we were when we talked about these things. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
remember
exactly.
That's true, I guess.
conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you've gotten a lot, Kate. That surprised me.
Yeah.
Actually.
Jane Austen was really good. But you actually were there when we.
Oh yeah, you
I
were
was
there.
actually there, technically. Yeah.
True.
Although I did
All right.
so poorly at Mel's trivia last week, which was wicked hard. It was good, but hard.
I know that was fun.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
If you guys haven't heard it, it was fun.
Yeah. Check it out.
So, Kel, what are 3 words that you would use to describe Portia and Ellen?
3 words, yeah. I was thinking about this. 3 words I would use to describe them. It's always tough to summarize in 3 words, you know. But I would say committed,
Okay.
supportive,
Nice.
and romantic.
Oh.
Oh, not a single negative.
I know. I had to say those. Yeah, I felt like those stood out the most to me.
I think a lot of the times with couples that are still together, we don't know the full intricacies of their relationship, so we can't really say, like,
Very true.
it's abusive or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're still together, you know, like...
That's true. Yeah,
Like, it must be a good relationship if they're still going strong however
Yeah.
many years later or whatever, you know?
You do
Well, we
learn
hope.
so much about relationships when they end.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. Sometimes when I'm researching a couple, it's like there's the breakup, but then there's like 10 years or more of more information that comes out after of them like
and that's hard.
talking about what happened. So yeah, but there is definitely a lot to say about Ellen and Portia. And in case you guys don't know who they are, I think most people have heard of Ellen. I mean, she even just goes by her first name, but Ellen DeGeneres is a comedian, talk show host, also known for playing Dory in Finding Nemo, and actress. And Portia de Rossi is an actress, but both of them are retired now, apparently. So they're living their retired life. Yeah. And we've gotten a lot of requests to cover Ellen and Portia, but we had a listener send us a voice message actually requesting this couple, and it was our listener Gerald who sent it in 2023, so it was a while ago. And I want to play Gerald's message because we're finally getting to it.
Hello, significant lovers. My name is Jeriel, and I'm a big fan of your podcast. I would love to nominate Miss Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi to be part of your podcast. I think it'd be so fun, especially with Ellen's background.
So we're finally doing it.
Thanks, Jeriel, for the message.
Yeah, I'm interested in this couple too. I was saying to my dad, like, Portia's kind of a mystery. And he was like, not if you watch Arrested Development, not if you watch, because he loves Arrested Development. So
Yeah, we were talking about this a week or so ago, because I mentioned, I think, in my family, I knew nothing about Portia, never seen anything. I didn't even know she was an actress, honestly. I thought she was just a model. And then my dad, I think, mentioned that, or Kelly maybe mentioned that she was on Ally McBeal. And then someone else, I think Dad mentioned that she was on Arrested Development, and I had no idea. Somehow her career just went over my head, or like it was away from me somehow.
Yeah. Well, Ellen is such a star. She was such a star that I feel like Portia she became introduced to me as Ellen's wife. And I feel like
Me too.
She definitely kind of took a backseat to Ellen's stardom.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like there's a lot of actors that we know because we watched a certain show. I think TV actors are kind of strange that way because not everybody watches the shows. I mean, I bet a ton of people don't know who like Chase Crawford is, for instance, or I don't know, Misha Barton, or I don't know.
Very
I'm
true.
trying to think of like it's TV's weird that way. So I think in the 90s she was pretty famous, but
yeah, because a lot more people watched the same shows back then. But now there's just so many channels that's impossible for everybody to watch the same shows.
Yeah.
More options.
So let's get into it. Who
Yay.
is Ellen? I'm going to start with Ellen first.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like Ellen has been such a part of this podcast already because she just comes up in so many clips that we share. I mean, we've talked about her for sure. And I guess I'll just say it now. Like, I am pretty pro Ellen. I know she's had a big cancellation recently. And as we'll see as we get into her life story, that's not the first time she's been canceled in her career, but for very different reasons.
I'm not like pro or anti Ellen. I don't think she was totally deserving of cancellation. Like, I don't think she did anything too bad comparatively. I do think she kind of has an annoying personality, and I...
But see, okay, well, we're going to get into this at like the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to explain the whole thing, but because it happened very recently. But I have a suspicion that a lot of people jumped on this cancel Ellen bandwagon because they just found her kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Which isn't a great reason to like ruin someone's career, but
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm ready to get into that whenever it's time in this episode because I have a lot of thoughts on it. So,
good.
But this is a safe space. This is a safe space to say if, like, you know, you are sympathetic to Ellen.
If you love Ellen, if you hate
Ellen,
this is a podcast for you.
We used to say that about Twilight. If you love Ellen, if you hate Ellen, this is the podcast for you. Yeah. So, also in case anyone doesn't know what Ellen looks like, I don't know how you wouldn't know, but I guess it's possible. She's blonde. She has big crystal blue eyes, very blue eyes. Used to have more shoulder length hair in the 90s and 80s, but in recent years she's worn it cropped very short, and I'd say she likes to dress very casually. Ellen Lee DeGeneres, Lee is her middle name, was born January 26, 1958 in Metairie, Louisiana. And her mother was a speech therapist, and her father was an insurance agent. And she has an older brother named Vance. And
Dance?
I think they were Vance.
Oh, okay. That makes more
dance?
sense. Yeah, I thought it was dance.
No, Vance.
Okay.
I need to enunciate better. She was raised Christian Scientist, which is a branch of Christianity that believes in healing through prayer and essentially believes that we live in the material world, but we are spiritual beings, and like our material selves don't really matter. And she's talked about this like in her stand-up and such. She's pretty open about it, but sounded like a kind of difficult childhood. I mean, I think she loved her parents and brother, but it sounded like they had some hardships. And it went on to become a lot more difficult, actually. Her parents divorced when she was around 15. And after her mother remarried, she was moved to Atlanta, Texas, and her brother Vance actually stayed in Louisiana with her dad. So they were split up.
Oh.
And then it actually gets really dark. Just a warning. I did not expect this. Like, I mean, you think of Ellen as just being so happy and like wholesome all the time, but apparently when she was living in Texas with her mom and stepdad, her stepfather molested her a couple times. Her mother had breast cancer, and her stepdad kind of like pretended that he needed to check Ellen for lumps in her breasts, and he did that like a couple times, and I think, you know, tried to advance things from there, and she like ran out the window, and just sounded really traumatic. I feel really bad for young Ellen, and sadly her mother did not believe her when she told her this story. And her mom stayed married to this man for 18 more years until she finally started to believe Ellen 18 years later, because I guess he like had inconsistencies with the story or something. And yeah, so Poor Ellen. But after high school, she returned to Louisiana. I feel like that's, where she considers home. And she studied at the University of New Orleans, or New Orleans. I feel like up here we always say New Orleans, but it's actually New Orleans. Where she majored in communications, but she left after only one semester to do work for her cousin at a law firm. But then she had a bunch of other odd jobs. She was just doing random things like working at JCPenney and TGI Fridays. She was a house painter. She had a ton of jobs. And then she started getting into stand-up comedy. It just sort of happened. I think she was at a show of her friends or something, and they maybe asked if anyone wanted to get up. It might have been like an open mic type of thing, and she just went up there and did it, and she enjoyed it. And her brother did stand-up too, so it's just kind of something that she fell into. In 1980, okay, this is getting sad again, Ellen lost her girlfriend named Kat Perkoff. When Ellen was 22 years old, her girlfriend died in a car crash.
Like, wait, sorry, romantic girlfriend or friend?
Yeah, romantic girlfriend. Yeah, apparently Ellen was driving down the road and she actually saw the accident on the other side of the road, but she didn't know who it was, or I don't know why. I don't know why she didn't know what car she was in, but she saw the cops were there and she thought, like, oh, that's sad, but she drove home and she didn't realize that was her girlfriend that had just died in a car accident. I know, it's so sad. And so like her life was turned upside down. She was really distraught. But it led to her writing her now famous comedy routine called Phone Call to God. And in this routine, she calls God to ask, like, why this person died when fleas are still around. And she gets placed on hold. And, she turned it into this, like, whole comedic thing, turning her sadness into humor. And she started performing it around comedy clubs in New Orleans. And then she entered a contest for Showtime. And she ended up winning through this routine, Phone Call to God, and she was named the funniest person in America from it.
Wow.
But she said that actually went on to be kind of a curse, because like after that she would perform and they would advertise her as like the funniest person in America.
Yeah.
But, she was like, I wasn't. So people would get really mad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she really only had this one routine, it seems like. It just got her to win that contest, and then it went up from there. Her brother actually got a small part on SNL. Really small. It was called Mr. Hands in the Mr. Bill sketch, and only his hands were in it. It was like kind of like in SpongeBob when they would have like a hand, like bring in a thing, and like stop motion, a little animated routine with hands in it. Yeah, so I wouldn't say she got like connections from her brother because all he did was use his hands, but maybe she like met people through him. I don't know. So after her winning the Showtime's Funniest Person in America, she started acting on some TV shows in the late 80s and early 90s. And in 1993, she was in the movie Coneheads. And she actually had some short films that played at Disney World at Epcot called Ellen's Energy Adventure. And they also starred Bill Nye and Jamie Lee Curtis and some other people. I did not know that. Seems like such a thing, that you would go to, like just this random 4D experience or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I find Ellen's young stand-up comedy routines so funny. Like it is kind of hard to not like her when you watch her comedy when she was young. It's just
I've actually never watched or listened. I feel like I should.
I was listening to some of her comedy leading up to this, and it was making me laugh, I have to admit. I was laughing out loud. Yeah, I find her so charming. I mean, especially back then. Like, her voice was a little different, too. She had a different accent. So then, in 1998, Ellen was cast in the ABC show called These Friends of Mine, which is actually renamed Ellen after season 1.
Oh.
So that's her sitcom, Ellen. And they did the thing that they always do on Disney Channel and such, where her character was named Ellen, It's weird. It's like a fictional version. I mean, it's not her. It was Ellen Morgan. I don't know why they always do that.
I know.
And I mean, even on Seinfeld, too, it's his first and last
Yeah,
name.
true. But it's like a totally fake world that they're living in. I don't know. The Ellen Show was really popular, and it reached its height of popularity in 1997, April 1997, when Ellen came out as a lesbian on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And her character on the sitcom also came out of the closet to her therapist, played by Oprah Winfrey. So it was like both in fiction and in real life. And they had planned to make her character, Ellen, come out on the show, but that was leaked before the episode aired. I think a couple months before. So then Ellen kind of had to like come out in real life too. I think she was planning to anyway, but I think it was originally planned for the show to come out and then she'll come out, but it kind of happened in reverse.
I kind of have a question that I don't know if you know the answer to. So you said she had a girlfriend before. And I don't know if she was out then, and then as she got more popular, she went back into the closet, and then she was coming out again, or what? Was there anything about starting her career and being more secretive about being gay?
Probably. I know she said that in high school she wasn't out, but she would like secretly, you know, make out with her friend, but she would have like a boyfriend at the same time. And when her girlfriend died, that was after high school. I'm not totally sure how much people knew. Possibly people knew, but I think as she started pursuing acting, I don't think people knew.
Okay.
I think it was kind of a secret. Yeah. I'm sure some people did, but in general, the public did not think Ellen was gay. So it was a big deal. Yeah. People were shocked. And she also had a Time magazine cover where the caption said, "Yep, I'm gay."
I've seen that before.
Now pretty famous. And the episode that she came out of on the Ellen Show is called the Puppy episode. And I wanted to just share a clip of it with you guys because this actually was a huge deal. I mean, people say this is like the first celebrity to come out. I mean, and this was on the TV show. I don't know if that's totally true, but maybe. I don't know. I think she was the first to just say like, yes, I'm gay. You know what I mean? Without it being rumors or like other people saying it. To proudly announce it. So yeah, that's the other clip I have for you guys. It's just a short clip from the show, just so you can see it.
This is so hard, but I think I've realized that I can't even say the word. Why can't I say the word? I mean, why can't I just say, I mean, what is wrong? Why do I have to be so ashamed? I mean, why can't I just say the truth? I mean, be who I am. I'm 35 years old. I'm so afraid to tell people. I mean, Susan, I'm gay.
Funny that Laura Dern's there. I don't know if she was just like in the show or what.
Well, apparently Laura Dern actually played her love interest, I think, after this episode. Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Well, I think there were gay characters, but they were usually probably like background. Because by this point, they had friends with Ross's ex-wife who was gay and her partner, but they weren't part of the friend group or anything. So this is probably the first lead character or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
That's true. My So-Called Life had a kid that was gay, but he was, kind of a side character.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I mean, the titular character, Ellen, was coming out as gay, so it was a big deal. And even though some people were really happy about this and excited, there was a ton of backlash that we probably can't even imagine today. Like, sponsors started pulling ads from the show, including JCPenney, where she used to work.
Wow.
And there were all these debates and articles. It was like on TV. People were saying she should have kept it to herself and that she was like an affront to decency and all this stuff. It was like a nationwide discussion. ABC did renew another season, a fifth season of Ellen, but they stopped advertising it entirely. And it just started having failing ratings and then was canceled.
Dang.
And Ellen has said that she felt very bitter after her show was canceled and that she did literally nothing for 3 years after that.
Wow.
And apparently Laura Dern, because Laura played like her romantic interest, apparently she also struggled to get work after this because people saw her like as a lesbian, even though she wasn't, but because she had played Ellen's girlfriend. So it was really, really rough for Ellen. She was even like struggling financially, I guess, because she had no work anymore. And then around this time, after the Ellen show, she started dating the actress Anne Hesh, who we recently mentioned dated Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac. And they dated until 2000, and then Ellen dated the photographer Alexandra Hedison for 4 years. So she is out now, and I think people know, and people knew she was dating Anne and such. And so we're now about around at 2001, and I'm going to stop with Ellen for now. But to wrap up Ellen's personality, I would say I think Ellen's hard to figure out a little bit. Which is weird because there's like millions of videos of her. She's been on this daytime show, but who she really is kind of hard to figure out. She's obviously funny. I think she's very observant and self-aware, but she's sort of grumpy in like a I hate people way. But she does seem to also like love the people in her life and her friends very deeply. Seems a little bit like a people pleaser, even though she is also very grumpy sometimes. I don't know. I feel like I've met people this way where like they are very disappointed by people and the world, but they also do care a lot about like world peace and such. And I feel like she is kind of like that. Maybe kind of like John Lennon in a way. I think she does seem easy to talk to and friendly, but can be a little bit uptight about specific things and is very ambitious and sort of a workaholic. Interesting person.
Yeah.
Okay, so then who is Portia de Rossi? Oh my
I have no clue.
I know. It was really fun to learn about Portia because I didn't know anything about her. She's an Australian-American actress and model.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's Australian.
Wow.
To describe what she looks like, in case you guys don't know, she's also blonde. She, in the 90s, this is going to sound weird, but I felt like she had a mermaid look to her. She had like wide, thin eyebrows, sort of angled eyes, long, wavy hair. She used to do like the crimped thing, and I don't know, she looks like a mermaid to me. And I don't know why I wrote about her personality at this point, but I would say that she seems very sweet, sort of tomboyish but girly too. She loves horses. I would say that she's obviously very beautiful but seems to have sort of low self-esteem.
Interesting.
But likes to connect with people.
Was she
Hope that's okay that I said
slightly
that, Portia.
easier to nail down than Ellen, or was she also slightly more of a mystery?
I'd say easier in a way. I'd say like less contradictions.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't really know these people, but this is just from observing them. So a bit about her background. Portia was actually born Amanda Lee Rogers.
Oh, they have the same middle name.
Oh yeah.
That's so weird. They had the same middle name. What the heck?
It's kind of a common middle name, though.
If Portia changed her last name, which I don't know if she did, or either way around, then they would have the same middle and last name. That's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah. So when she was Amanda Rogers, she grew up in Geelong, Victoria, Australia. And yeah, she's not Italian at all. That is a name that she adopted just on her own, stage name. Well, it's more than a stage name. Like, she legally changed it to that. So I'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, so she grew up in Australia. Her parents were Barry Rogers and Margaret Rogers. She also has an older brother, just like Ellen. When Portia was 9, her father sadly died, which is really sad. That's not enough time with your father. And her mom was struggling to provide for Portia and her brother, so she began working as a model and an actress in commercials around age 11. And I do think this exposure to modeling and competing for jobs into fashion shows at such a young age. I think it made Portia kind of hyper fixated on looks and appearances.
Yeah.
And I'm gathering this from her book that she wrote called Unbearable Lightness. I mean, she basically said it herself. I'm not just making this up. She started to become very fixated on that. And when she was 15, she decided to change her name to Portia de Rossi. She said it was to get a job as a hostess with a fake name, but then she just kind of kept that name.
Interesting.
For acting. I don't know, but
why would you
I
pick
think
Portia de Rossi?
Why would you need that for a hostess job?
I don't. Well, I think
was she
what
like
happened
underage
is
or something?
maybe, and I think she just had a fake name for that job, and then she decided to actually change her name to that fake name. To also reinvent herself as an actress. And she got Portia from the Shakespeare play The Merchant of Venice. And De Rossi, she just saw on a movie's credits and thought it sounded cool. So
It does.
That's
It's a nice name. I'll give her that.
yeah. So she started acting and modeling some more. Then she attended the University of Melbourne, as they call it, where she studied law, but I don't think she finished. She left school to pursue acting. Her first big role was in 1994 in the Australian movie Sirens, which also stars Hugh Grant and Sam Neill. And I kind of want to watch it, but I haven't seen it yet. And then she moved to America to, pursue Hollywood. And strangely, Portia has just seemingly completely dropped her Australian accent since moving to America. And you will see interviews with her later in this episode. She sounds completely American. You can slightly hear it when she says the word anything. But other than that, she just speaks with an American accent, and it kind of weirds me out, like that she was able to, change her name and just totally change her accent, and she just became a new person. You know what I mean?
I feel like some people are more susceptible to that than others. Like, I know, Caitlin, you've been around people and then start mimicking their accent.
True.
But I find
That's
that
true.
I even do too. Like, if I'm around people that have a southern accent, I find I do start saying things kind of in their accent, and I'm like, I sound ridiculous right now. And even when we've been in Ireland before around our cousins in Northern Ireland, I towards the end of the trip was thinking in their accent. So
Yeah.
I could easily see that happening to
Me
myself
too.
if I moved somewhere.
And that's only after a week. If you're there for years upon years or whatever, I guess you could see how your mouth almost starts changing and the way you move your tongue and how your jaw is. You just somehow
Maybe
start adapting it that way. Especially if, as an actor, she started playing American roles with American accents and maybe it just stuck that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
She did say it was on purpose. Because, she wanted to just land roles and be seen as American. But,
Yeah.
I do think people, I hear what you guys are saying. But usually when you're not a child, you don't totally lose your accent. But she seriously doesn't have an Australian accent anymore. But whatever.
I always just see stuff because Harry Styles apparently lives in the U.S. a lot. He still goes to London and abroad and whatnot. But every time there's a new interview of him, all of his fans are like, he's losing his accent. He's sounding more and more American. So
Yeah.
I guess it just
But
happens.
he still kind of has an English accent.
Yeah.
Right?
I know it's funny because it's a little bit more accepted when people lose their British accent or their Australian accent for an American one. But when an American moves to England, like Madonna,
Oh, and picks it up.
and starts speaking in a British accent, people are like, "Girl, what are you doing?"
I know.
Like, you're
But that would
faking
maybe
it.
be me. I really feel like I would easily develop an accent if I was around a lot of people that had one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because it's interesting. It's because I think a lot of Americans at least see the American accent as default. So when the other people start talking more American, it's about losing an accent. But if you start
rather
talking
than
British,
gaining
it's
one.
almost like you're gaining an accent. Like nobody's saying like, oh,
Yeah.
you're losing your American accent.
Yeah, so true. I also feel like the Australian accent, I might be wrong, I feel like it's not as strong as some other English speaking accents from an American point of view. It is a little similar.
Okay, all right. I disagree with you guys, but whatever. I mean, I met this woman in London, and maybe it is just the person, but she had lived there for like 20 years, and she still had an American accent. So
Really?
Yeah.
I think it just varies person to person.
Yeah, it's true. And actually, our grandmother still had an Irish accent.
Yeah, and she lived there for like 50 years or something, 40 years. I don't know how long.
In the United States, yeah.
She never got an American accent.
Yeah,
like almost 50 years.
I like accents. I think they're cool though. So
Do you like your own accent?
No. I wish I had more of a distinct one. I kind of wish I had more of like a Boston accent.
I know.
Or of course, I wish I had an English accent. It really gets me
Pack
down.
the car and have a yard.
Occasionally, I say a few words with one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Randomly.
I feel like we say words like hot dog or hot tub.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I say
rum.
hot. I say
Yeah.
It's really hot.
I always get made fun of that. Same with, I say popcorn, like pup.
Oh yeah, pup.
Yeah,
Yeah, I say pup too.
I get
I
made
hate
fun
how
of
people
for that.
make fun of people's accents though. It's like, let the people have their accent.
Always get made fun of. Especially when I say wicked. Always get made fun of
I
for
know.
that.
But don't ever stop.
I know.
Don't ever stop. Okay.
Okay, we got off topic.
Back
anyway.
to Portia. Back to Portia.
Pasha.
So she did an American movie called A Woman in the Moon, and there she met a man named Mel Metcalf.
Mel.
Yeah, Mel. Hello. I'm not sure what his role was on this movie, but he's now a music producer. Before him, she had had one fling with a woman, and she did think that she'd prefer to be with a woman, but she did actually fall for Mel, and it's weird to say. I feel like I'm talking about you. Mel the guy, and was very attracted to him. But in the back of her mind, according to her book, she sort of thought she was lesbian or bi, but she did like Mel and did want to be with him, and they got married.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, she married this guy, Mel.
Wow.
She was in the movie Scream 2 and then the movie Girl.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
then, yes. And then in 1998, she made her big break as Nell Porter on the show Ally McBeal. She joined the main cast of the TV show. It was a very big show at the time.
Oh, she
A lot
played
of people
someone
were
named
watching it.
Mel on the show.
Nell.
Nell.
Oh, Nell. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Sounds similar. She was very nervous about becoming famous from the show, according to her book, and especially nervous that people would find out that she was a lesbian, even though she was married to a man, so I'm not sure why she was nervous about that, but maybe she was nervous that her past would come out or something. I'm not sure. And she had heard about the Ellen DeGeneres show being canceled after she came out, and she actually read Ellen's mom's book, which was about having a gay daughter.
Ellen's mom.
Yeah, Ellen's mom had a book.
Well,
Because Ellen was like the lesbian in Hollywood, basically like the only one.
Do you
Yeah.
know if this was like a Jennifer Aniston situation where Ellen was fine with her mom writing a book, or?
I don't know, but I've never read or heard of Ellen being upset about that, so I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
I think it was like positive overall. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems kind of weird to us now, but it was like at first I struggled with my daughter being gay, but now I
Yeah.
accept it.
Yeah.
That kind of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
Portia's time on Ally McBeal sounded kind of sad. It sounds like she didn't really get close with anybody. I mean, she joined in season 2, so I think, you know, they weren't that excited about there being a new person, and they already had their routines established and everything. In her book, she told a story about asking a bunch of them to eat lunch together, but everybody turned her down and said that they just did their own thing at lunch. And she said at lunch she would hide away somewhere feeling like an awkward schoolgirl, which is really sad. And this is when Portia really struggled with a severe case of anorexia. Her memoir, Unbearable Lightness, The Story of Loss and Gain, is mostly about her struggles with an eating disorder. It's very dark and vulnerable. She talks a lot about like hating herself and dealing with the thoughts she experienced when she was anxious about food and her weight. And she also talked about feeling like she was very average and not good at anything, and was very critical of herself in the book, even writing almost matter-of-factly like that she wasn't good looking enough for roles and that her profile was ugly and her condition was getting worse and worse. And I found honestly a lot of it really disturbing to read, but I think it is nice that she shared that and really groundbreaking in a way. And people have talked about it a lot in recent years, but certainly a lot of stars, I think, deny that they have problems with problems with things like that. So it's pretty cool that she shared
kind of
it.
Refreshing, yeah.
It is really dark, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a warning if you want to check that book out.
Yeah, I've heard that book is like triggering for people who have eating disorders because it's like...
Yeah, she definitely shares like her methods of losing weight and such. So, but it's really sad, and she really bared it all. Like you sense that she was really struggling during those Ally McBeal years. And her marriage was not doing so well at the same time. She apparently was losing sexual attraction to her husband, and she started having feelings for her neighbor, a woman. And after 3 years of marriage, her husband, Mel, left her, and they divorced in 1999. But crazy enough, her husband left her for her brother's wife, so her sister-in-law.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But weirdly, Portia really didn't seem to care that much. Like, in her book, she just said it in, like, one sentence, and you're kind of like, huh? Like, what the hell?
My God.
And then a couple pages later, she explains it more, but she didn't really seem, like, that upset about it.
Well, I'd be upset on the behalf of my brother.
I know.
That's mostly what she said. She was like, I felt so bad for my brother, but, like, she didn't seem sad that her husband was gone.
Oh my God.
Is her husband and her brother's ex-wife still involved in the family, or are they completely detached? Like, did the brother and the ex-wife have children? And they still have to
I don't know. I
their
actually
exes?
don't know.
That'd be kind of crazy
messy.
if so. Yeah.
I know that Portia and Ellen have talked about being aunts, but I don't know where those kids came from. So I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not sure.
No, that's okay. But that'd be like, you would kind of hope you can just cut ties and not have to deal with that. But if there were children involved, you would just constantly have to see your exes and your sister's ex or your brother's ex all the time.
Yeah. I mean, they were in-laws themselves. Like, I feel like that would be crazy. Like someone that you saw all the time at like family events and stuff, and then you get together. That is crazy. Messy.
I know. But it's so funny how it was like on one page. Like she really didn't dwell on it. So that makes me think they did just cut ties because it didn't come up again in the book.
Yeah, not dwelling too much on it.
Yeah. I think she was just happy to be rid of him.
But that's just a wild almost footnote in your autobiography almost.
I know. After her divorce, she actually said she had a beard, which if anyone doesn't know, Mom, not a literal
beard.
No, well, I mean, she had a fake straight relationship as like a cover-up.
Wow.
So she admitted to that.
Yeah, she said her and her friend Eric would go to award shows and premieres and such, and he would be her date, and they like pretended they were dating. Yeah. So she, as I said, was really struggling with her eating disorder, and it was starting to get really bad. Like she was in physical pain and collapsing and was unable to do things in movies and such. But then she started seeing a doctor and was essentially ordered to get better and began her slow journey to recovery. And as she was starting to recover, she decided that now might be a good time to come out as a lesbian. But the reason is really sad. She said, I figured that I had completely ruined my career by being fat, so I might as well be gay also. I figured that if I ever worked again, it would be a character actress or playing the best friend to the lead female. So if my homosexuality was rumored around town, it wouldn't really do any further damage to the image I'd already created for myself by being fat. But she was not fat at all.
Yeah,
it's
she was really
so
like
upsetting.
Emaciated.
I know.
Yeah.
So
emaciated.
sad.
Sorry, emaciated is the right word.
And then she wrote that after 9/11, she became terrified that she could die without ever really living her life and decided that she was ready to date a woman for real. And so for 3 years, she dated the director Francesca Gregorini, who is actually Ringo Starr's stepdaughter, randomly.
That's cool.
I don't think a ton of people knew about this, but there were photos published of them together. It might have been that kind of thing where they were like, gal pal? Like, what's going on, you know? Which we've seen with people like Kristen Stewart. Most of her family and Ally McBeal co-stars in the public didn't know that she was lesbian, but they slowly started to learn. And Portia said she was actually grateful for the paparazzi pictures of her and Francesca because it finally pushed her out to stop hiding. Okay, so now we're finally at when they met. The night they met. It was 2001. Portia wrote, I met Ellen in 2001. Ugh, I feel bad. Like, I hope this isn't, like, triggering, talking about, like, this eating disorder stuff, but it's like, all throughout her book. But she wrote, I met Ellen in 2001 when I weighed 168 pounds. I don't know if it was that weight exactly, but I was heavy enough that the thought that she might have found me attractive or that we could have been a couple never entered my mind. I remembered being so excited and overjoyed to be around her that I can still recall the feeling of running after her backstage at a concert we were both attending for Rock the Vote. So that's where they met. I caught up to her, sat next to her at a table, and bought her a drink. I remember what she wore: an orange knit sweater, white t-shirt, blue jeans, and white tennis shoes. I remember what we talked about and a joke she made as we were looking down at the mosh pit. I embarrassed myself by laughing too much and too loudly at the joke, but I simply couldn't stop. I thought she was the most amazing person I'd ever met. She was highly intelligent, sharply observant, and funny. She was so beautiful, it seemed that light emanated from her bright blue eyes.
Aww.
I had the best night of my life. I felt good about myself around her. I was excited and yet comfortable. At the end of the night, she invited me to come over her house with the group of friends she'd met with at the concert. I didn't go. As we'd just met, I thought she was just inviting me to be polite, and I was too shy, too fat, and too insecure to go to her house with her friends. I felt I had created the perfect memory of being around her that night, and I didn't want to ruin it. As it turns out, she had invited those people over only so she would have the excuse of a party to invite me over.
Aww, that's so sad, but also so cute at the same time. Just
it is so
the memory.
Sad. Yeah.
Aww.
Portia. So that was in 2001, and they actually didn't reconnect again until 2004.
Oh.
Ellen was still in a relationship with Alexandra Hedison during that first meeting with Portia that she wrote about.
Oh.
I know. I know.
Ellen.
I know. But whatever, like, I don't know what, nothing happened. I mean, maybe there was a spark, but I don't know. So anyway, a few years go by without them seeing each other, or maybe they saw each other, but they didn't talk or anything. In 2001, Ellen returned to TV with a new sitcom called The Ellen Show, but it flopped and was canceled after 13 episodes. And then in 2003, she tried something new, and she launched her talk show, The Ellen DeGeneres Show, which we now know her from. And it was a hit. She was known for dancing in the audience and pulling pranks and making people laugh and, you know, what?
Well, first I was laughing because she had a show called Ellen, and then a show called The Ellen Show, and then she had a show called The Ellen DeGeneres Show.
They all sound the same.
I know. But then I was laughing because you were describing the show, and you're like, she dances in the audience, and I was just picturing it, and I don't know, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah. That's Ellen. In those years after they met, meanwhile, Portia joined the show Arrested Development, as you mentioned, Mel, because Ally McBeal had ended. And this time when she was on the show, she told the producers that she was gay. I don't know if she had to do that or, like, why, but she told them. So she wasn't hiding anymore. And then they reunited. They met again in 2004. They ran into each other at a photo shoot of some sort, and the attraction was still there, although they were both in relationships. And Portia said about this, she had a girlfriend and I had a girlfriend, but it wasn't like, oh, we're going to have an affair. We were just supposed to be together.
Oh.
And Ellen Ellen told People magazine, "It was a tough decision. I was physically getting sick because I was trying not to say anything. So I told Alex and she told Francesca it was really hard to uproot everything. They broke up with their girlfriends to be together."
That's good. I mean, we've seen the other side of it and how being left for somebody else hurts. But we've also talked about it's better to leave the person for the other person instead of just cheating. So at least they did that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it still would suck to be the other partners.
Yeah. It would suck to be Alex and Francesca. But I guess you can't really say, like, oh, they cheated on me, because the best thing you want to do if you want to be with somebody else is to leave your current partner, so.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no real perfect solution to that.
Yeah.
But, you know. But, I mean, if you want to feel a little better about it, now Alexandra is married to Jodie Foster, and Francesca is with Britt Marling, the singer, with her sister. So.
Wait, Britt
They
Marling?
found love. Her sister.
Britt Marling's sister.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know who she is, but.
I know Britt Marling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Francesca's with her sister.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I guess it all worked out in the end.
It worked out. Yeah.
Wow, Jodie Foster. That's a catch.
I know. Yep. So
Upgrade.
everybody knew Ellen DeGeneres. Like, as I said, she was really the first celebrity to come out and be openly gay and announce it like that. And Portia wrote in her memoir a story about how her grandmother had called Ellen disgusting and stopped watching her on TV after she came out. And then fast forward 2 years later, she told her grandmother that she was dating Ellen.
Wow.
And at first, her grandmother was really upset and was like, "What?" But then I guess she closed her eyes for 20 seconds, opened them, and then said, "I love you just the same."
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
That's sweet.
She talked a little bit more about this in her book, like the stigma that Ellen had in a way. And then she had talked to her mom about how she was gay, and in the book she wrote, "My mother would say to me, now you're in a relationship, people will find out you're gay." And I would reply, "Relax, Ma, at least I'm not dating Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres was the worst case scenario. She would expose me as being gay. She would force me to live a truthful, honest life, to be exactly who I am with no pretense. I thank God for her every day." So, yeah, I mean, she was, like, seen as, like, the gay person in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And people didn't know Portia even was. So it was quite a big deal. And I think...
Yeah.
Oh, Mel, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, was Rosie O'Donnell out at that point? I feel like...
I'm not sure. I know. I think she was the other...
Yeah.
I kind of see what Portia was saying, because anybody that was probably seen even with Ellen at the time was probably thought to be like, oh, you're probably gay, you know, or maybe you're with Ellen. It's kind of how even today some people are spotted with Cara Delevingne, and people think, are they together?
Yeah.
It's that kind of,
good
are you?
comparison.
Yeah.
I just did a quick Google search, and apparently Rosie came out in 2002.
Okay.
Okay.
So
yeah.
shortly
After, yeah.
I remember because she would always host the Kids' Choice Awards, which was relevant to me at the time. And I remember there was backlash. I think maybe even people didn't want her to host it or something, or she was maybe even fired from it. I don't know for sure, but I think she did face significant backlash too.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, I kind of researched a little bit of Rosie during this because I don't think Rosie and Ellen like each other.
Oh, really?
Apparently, yeah, they don't.
Interesting. I remember Ellen went on the Rosie O'Donnell show, and they were talking about, they made jokes about being, I think, Lebanese.
Oh,
Like, they were
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
I'm Lebanese too. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I always thought you might be Lebanese. Yeah, like obviously, but both like talking about being lesbians.
Yeah. Then there was a funny story where Ellen was saying something about how, like, people said, you know, she couldn't have a talk show because people didn't want to see a lesbian during the day. But there was like both her and Rosie.
Yeah. That's probably why they didn't get along. They were just competitors.
I think they were competitors. And Rosie pretty recently on, I think, Andy Cohen's show said like that she had never been asked on Ellen's show, and she seemed kind of shaded by that. And apparently Ellen said that they weren't friends. So I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know what happened there.
I love Rosie. She's so funny.
I haven't, you know, seen her or anything in so long, but when I was a child, it was like a comforting thing. I don't know. But so I don't know. All of this about like Portia dating Ellen, like, oh my God. I sensed that she felt like very judged, obviously, from her family and friends and co-stars, and an immense amount of judgment from the country that we probably can't even imagine. So I asked our listeners, in any way, big or small, have you ever felt judged for dating or liking someone?
Oh, yeah.
I asked Caitlin if this was weird to ask, because I was like, I don't know. There's probably a difference between like being judged for being gay and then being judged for dating someone that doesn't have a job or something. But still, it hurts to feel judged for that. And I asked you guys, and actually 86% of our listeners said, yes, they have felt judged for dating or liking someone. 14% said
Did anyone
no.
elaborate?
Yeah, Heather said, I think there are two common situations in which this happens. One, high school relationships, popularity contest. And two, the person you're after is not good for you and your friends know it. I've done both. Crying face. And then Allison said, yes, my younger years really brought a slew of bad/poor life and relationship decisions. So that's kind of, I guess, applies to number two. Like, because sometimes people might be judgmental because they think they're looking out for you or something.
Yeah.
But it still feels shitty, you know.
Yeah.
And also it sucks for the person that's being judged, the
I know.
significant other. And
Unless
there's so
they
many
deserve
different reasons. Unless they
Yeah.
deserve it. I know, it's kind of a wide question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do
With
think
a lot of interpretations.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when you are judged for liking someone, it almost intensifies your feelings for that person because you're like, oh, everybody else doesn't see what I see. And you almost want to like prove people wrong or something, or just
That's
like
interesting.
it strengthens like the sense of pining.
I think it can do
Sometimes.
that in another aspect because you might feel that judgment and then you might kind of close yourself off from those other people and more invest yourself in your relationship. So
True.
then you're more attached to that person because you think that how your relationship is more important than the other person's opinions. And maybe they're wrong. Those people aren't right for those opinions and for all that. They might be wrong or right or whatever. But either way, you kind of grow closer because of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Sam Taylor Johnson, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Like it kind of becomes them against the world in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've definitely, I don't know, I guess I have been insecure in the past or like a people pleaser, and it has affected me, not to this scale like Ellen and Portia, but like I actually feel kind of different from what you're describing, Mel, is like it really upsets me when people don't like who I like or who I'm dating, and it makes me start to like question it, which is bad.
Yeah.
Especially my younger self. I mean, literally, I have like a 5th grade memory of liking this boy that was kind of nerdy, and my friend like made fun of me for liking him, and I feel like I kind of like told myself to stop liking him for that reason, which is so sad. But
There's like a whole genre of humor or just like a lived experience among people, I feel like, about that feeling. Because you know that thing about, like showing a picture to your friends of the person you're with or into, and you're like,
True.
It's a bad photo.
Yeah, you're like,
They don't take photos well. They're not photographic, like photogenic or whatever. Like, Feel better in person, you know?
Yeah.
So sad.
I always felt like, because I've definitely experienced this where everybody hates a particular guy that I dated for probably good reason. But I don't think it ever lessened. Maybe over time, I was like, okay, I don't want to deal with this anymore. But I think that it just made me be like, okay, I'm not going to talk about it with people then.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I get that.
And I think that's why people were, like, in the closet, obviously. Like, they knew people weren't going to understand. They knew people were going to judge them. And maybe they'd lose their job or whatever. I mean, that's the extreme. But, you know, it's better to just keep it to yourself, which is really sad.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good. I would not be that way anymore, like my 5th grade self. I think that's really lame that I shut down my crush for this nerdy boy. But
Yeah, because it depends on, I mean, if it's something that, okay. I mean,
there's so many interpretations of this question.
Yeah.
Really vague. Yeah.
because, okay, if it's something that's not really that important that they're judging you about, and by that I mean, like, about your partner, like sexuality, religion, race, anything like that, I would say don't let that get in the way of your love.
Yeah.
That would be my big saying. I think it's lame.
Yeah.
Like Kelly said, to let that happen. But again, there's so many ways where it could be like, this person was borderline abusive, and your friends were
Yeah,
judging
exactly.
you for
Then it's like
staying with them.
everybody.
You're judging.
Yeah, in that case, you should
In
take
that
your
case,
friends. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But,
you
like, I feel like-
should value that. Yeah.
Yeah, in a healthy relationship, you should never be ashamed of your partner.
Yes.
So for whatever reason that is, maybe
True.
you have good reason to be ashamed because they treat you like shit. And then,
Yes.
you know, reevaluate that. But if people are judging them because of where they come from, what they look like, their sexuality, you should love them enough to not hide them, who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I've had problems with that in the past, but
Okay.
it's a sad reality because, like, obviously I'm gay, so I can relate to relationships where people might want to hide because of their sexuality, which I can understand. Like, that grandma seemed homophobic, but you never know. Again, if you come out and you say, like, hey, I'm dating Ellen DeGeneres, they might take those 20 seconds and be like, you know what, I love you. So you really never know, and you shouldn't let that stand in the way of love. That's all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't care about things until it affects them.
Yeah.
So I think that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it is amazing. Some people have never felt that. I asked Charlie this question. I was like, have you ever felt judged for liking someone or dating someone? And he thought about it for a second. He said, no. Cool.
Imagine if he was like, yeah. You're like, who? And you're
You.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel judged every day for being with you. Yeah. I mean, more on these lines. In 2005, Ellen and Portia made their first big public appearance at the Golden Globes. At a Golden
Nice.
Globes party. I don't even think it was on the red carpet, but just at the party. But Ellen said it was a big deal for her to be seen with me. Poor Ellen. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm just this, like, what do you call it?
Social pariah.
Yeah, the social
Yeah.
pariah. Later that same year, Ellen told People magazine, People definitely owns this beat, this Ellen and Portia story.
Yeah.
Ellen said, it's the first time I've known in every cell of my being that I'm with somebody for the rest of my life. And she
cute.
added, if it were legal, we would be married, but it's not legal.
What year is this?
2005.
Oh, so they still got like 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Well, not in Massachusetts, LOL.
Yeah, true. I'm skipping ahead a few years. I'm assuming everything was okay. I'm sure life has its up and downs, but, you know, she's doing the Ellen DeGeneres show. 2008 comes around, and Ellen and Portia become engaged. Portia
Nice.
said, Ellen was going to surprise me with a commitment ceremony at a joint birthday party we were going to have. So we made the date of August 16th. I don't get that, though, because...
What?
I think their birthdays are January? Yeah, they're both January, so I don't...
I'm just a little confused at surprising her with a commitment ceremony. Is that just like surprising with an engagement? I don't know what.
Yeah, how can you do that? Yeah,
commitment?
Yeah.
Surprise, we're getting married now.
Yeah, surprise! It's our wedding.
It must have been engagement.
Okay.
It must be engagement at. I don't know if they weren't calling it engagement because it was just a commitment ceremony. I don't know, but like. Commitment ceremony was supposed to happen in August.
Okay.
But I think it was proposed at their joint birthday party, and their birthdays are both in January.
Okay.
So they made the date August 16th, and then during that time in between, I guess, gay marriage became legal in California. So they were going to have the ceremony anyway, and then they were like, oh, we could actually make this a wedding. So that August, they were wed at their home in Los Angeles. There were about 19 guests. Wasn't really a big affair, but Ellen wore a white blouse and pants, and Portia wore a white gown with like a tulle skirt. The dinner and wedding cake was all vegan because they were both vegan at the time. And to People magazine, Ellen said, "What can I say? I'm the luckiest girl in the world." And she said, "She's officially off the market. No one else gets her, and now she'll cook and clean for me."
Cute.
And then later, she said, when she returned to the show, "I've been married for exactly 24 days, and I've now settled into it. I'm saying things like, this little lady will have the Caesar salad, no anchovies. And I'd love to be there, but the old ball and chain will let me out of the house."
That's funny.
Which are jokes, people.
Yeah, definitely. I can see some people taking it literally in this day and age, but oh, that's sweet. I was thinking as you were talking about it, like I'm sure this has maybe come up on the podcast before, but it must be kind of tough in same-sex relationships when it comes to engagement. Like, who takes the lead on that? Oh. We talked about this a couple episodes ago with Jen Tran, how she was on The Bachelorette and proposed. And it like stinks, but it is almost comforting in straight relationships to have that gender norm where the guy proposes. Because I feel like I could picture myself if I was gay, just like kind of waiting around for a while, like not wanting to do it. Well, but then the other person might not want to.
I think my opinion is, I think a lot of you kind of like straight couples for the most part, you discuss it about like potentially getting married or something like that. My question though is, who gets the ring? Do you both get each other a ring? Because you might be like, true, let's get married. But I don't know if they do the official kneeling down to propose type of thing. I've seen lots of footage or videos on TikTok, Instagram Reels, whatnot. Mostly of lesbians where one proposes to the other and the other also has a ring. They were planning to propose at the same time or another time. So they both have rings. And they both were going to propose. So I think it is very up in the air.
Yeah.
There's no set. Because I wouldn't even say like, oh, it's the one who's more masculine presenting. Or, you know? Because that's not
But that's not always the case.
Exactly. Because sometimes there's two butch lesbians in one relationship or two femme lesbians in one relationship, and this is just talking about lesbians at this point, but I'm sure it's a whole different thing also for gay men, and then maybe also with non-binary people. So I don't even know.
I've seen some couples who they both propose to each other, which I think is sweet in practice, but if you're the person who goes second, it's like way easier. You know the person is definitely, I mean, you should always pretty much know the person's going to say yes if you're proposing. Yeah. But the stakes are way lower. I guess, like, in a way, though, you can, like, maybe one-up the other person if you're going second, because you're like, oh, this person did, you know, this. I'm going to, like, raise it up a level and, like, go even more all out.
part of the fun of a engagement is the surprise of it. So if you're going second, it's like, oh, like the surprise isn't there.
Yeah, maybe it's like a race to see who does it first. Which would be...
That's fun.
You have to win.
Do you guys mind if I go to the bathroom real quick?
Oh no,
Yeah.
let's do
All right.
it.
You do mind?
You do mind? Maybe I'll go too.
Okay.
I kind of have to go, so maybe I'll help.
I'll go on my phone.
We'll be right back. We're back. Okay, so they're married now, and in 2009, Portia made her first appearance on Ellen's show.
Oh, I'm surprised it took her so long.
I know. I don't know why. Maybe they were waiting for it to be official. I don't know. But
years later.
Yeah, so it's after they're married, and in this little segment, Portia talks about what she loves about Ellen, and it's really cute. I know you guys listening can't see it, but Ellen looks genuinely like so touched in her expression. She looks very emotional. But I'm going to share a clip.
Oh, look at that.
That's actually kind of hard to do.
All right, yeah, see? Now, the reason I did that is because she makes me look... Can you take these off?
You take it off.
All right, take the other one off.
No, really?
All right, then don't. Just stand on that.
Okay.
Every time we go out and get photographed, she looks so much taller than me. I'm taller than her. Let's settle this once and for all. You're always wearing these heels, and I feel so short next to you, so...
Can I have my shoe back now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. That's mainly why I had you on the show, to settle that, because... Hey, Portia.
Hey, Ellen.
So, we've been married. This is our 7-month anniversary today.
Yes,
Isn't
it
that
is. It's great.
And I'm going to treat you like any other guest who just got married. I would say, how's married life for you?
I think it's going pretty good.
Are you enjoying being married to me?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I gotta say that was the happiest day of my life. It really was.
Me too.
It really was.
Me too.
Yeah. No, you know, people always ask me if there's anything that she does that's annoying, like around the house, like if she leaves wet towels on the floor, if she's messy. And I got to tell you, she is considerate and kind and wonderful and neat.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
all of those things.
Thanks.
Really, the most amazing. So what would you say about me?
Thanks a lot.
No pressure.
I would say the same thing.
Really?
Not the neat part. I don't think you're neat, but you're kind and considerate and all those things.
I'm not as neat.
No, you're
right.
not as neat. It's just
No.
not as
No.
important to you.
You do hear the accent when she says anything or whatever.
Yeah.
Aw.
Cute. I kind of hate, though, when you compliment someone or whatever, and then you say, now compliment me back, and they just say the same thing, or, you know, it's like, can you think of something else to say?
I know.
You're all those things, too. It's like, okay.
I know.
I know. Maybe she was like searching for a joke. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of do that though. Like if someone said like, "You're so pretty," I say like, "You're so pretty too." You know?
Okay, that's different. If it's one thing, that's different. But if they list all these things and then they're like, okay, do me, like compliment me now. And it's like,
Yeah.
all the things you just listed.
I know. Yeah, Portia's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was cute. I thought Ellen's face looked touched.
Ellen does look like she adores her, Portia.
I could see it.
Yes.
I love to see that
It's cute.
in the eyes. In 2010, this is when Portia's book came out, Unbearable Lightness, A Story of Loss and Gain. As I mentioned before, it is very dark and vulnerable. But she opened the book with a dedication, writing to Ellen for showing me what beauty is.
Aww, that's cute.
And Ellen has a couple books herself, but they're so different from Portia's. They're entirely jokes. Most of the stories are super exaggerated or I think totally invented. I mean, they're comedy books, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how different their books are. Also in 2010, in August, Portia filed to legally change her name to Portia Lee James DeGeneres in order to take the last name of her spouse.
Where'd the Jane come from?
I don't know. I was looking everywhere for where that came from, and I couldn't figure it out. So maybe she just likes that name. I don't know. And she wrote in a statement, "I'm thrilled to legally adopt my wife's name. I will continue to use Portia de Rossi for professional purposes." And Ellen tweeted, "I just got some amazing news. The court has granted Portia's name change. She's now officially Portia Winfrey." It is interesting. I don't know. Like, also, how did that decision happen that Portia wanted to become Portia DeGeneres? But I think it's funny because, like, her last name was also a chosen name that she had changed to.
True.
So
I think that's probably why. Because she didn't really
they're kind
have
of similar.
as
De
much of
Rossi
a
DeGeneres.
Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
it goes well together.
Yeah. Throughout the 2010s, as we're entering a new decade, I will say there were a lot of rumors about Ellen and Portia getting divorced soon, or, you know, that things are rocky, but it still has never turned out to be true. Ellen told Howard Stern,
Take a drink.
take a drink, that she thought the rumors came about just because they were boring otherwise. And she said, "I don't understand why they do it. We're kind of flattered because for a while no one cared about us. And we thought, oh, lesbians aren't worthy of tabloid stories. So we're kind of flattered they care about us. But we don't. We really don't almost break up. We don't fight. We are madly in love. I guess it's boring."
That's cute.
A lot of articles were also questioning if Ellen and Portia would ever have kids. In 2011, Ellen published a book called Seriously... I'm kidding. And in one part, she wrote about how her and Portia had decided not to have children, and she said, "We love to be around children after they're fed and bathed, but we ultimately decided that we don't want children of our own. There is far too much glass in our house." And she said, "We have 2 dogs, Mabel and Wolf, and 3 cats at home, Charlie, George, and Chairman. We have 2 cats on our farm, Tom and little sister, 2 horses and 2 mini horses, Hannah and Tricky. We also have 2 cows, Holy and
gosh.
Madonna. And those are only the animals we let sleep in our bed." So
Clearly,
they're big animal people.
Yeah. I feel like that's so typical of a lot of celebrities. They just have like such a relatable amount of animals.
I know.
Okay, I know it's good to adopt so many pets and, you know, get them out of the kennels
Shelter.
and whatnot and the shelters. But it's almost kind of borderline negligence how many animals some of these celebrities have. They have like 10 dogs or something. And it's like, there's no way you can just give so much attention to these 10 dogs. They might be getting like fed and given water and walks and stuff. But it's probably from like walkers, people who come to do it, random strangers. I mean, maybe those random strangers that you hire are giving them lots of love.
Yeah.
But especially if you're off filming or touring and whatnot, they're having a good life, but it's just negligent almost to have that many pets.
Well, I guess, it's like, I mean, they are well cared for, but I guess I don't know, like, a cat or a dog, what level of attention do they need from their owner in terms of the connection? Like, I just can't relate because it would be a different type of connection that you have with your pet. Like, you might love them, but it's not like they are your everything, you know? Like, your world doesn't necessarily, like, revolve around them, like, which has been the case for all of us.
Like we've just or something.
Yeah. It would be hard to be as obsessed with your pet as I think the normal person typically is when they only have a couple at most.
I just find that insane. It's like a weird thing. Like, why do you need to have 10 dogs or 10 cats or all these farm animals, even though you're not a farmer or whatever, you know? It's what's the desire there?
Who's the excitement, maybe?
Yeah. Later on, they do get chickens as well. And like a gorilla sanctuary.
Oh my god.
That?
No.
I mean, they're not their pets. It's supposed to be for wildlife.
Is it like on
preservation
their
or whatever?
property or
No.
Do they
It's
just
in
own a zoo
Africa,
or
but-
something? Oh,
No,
what?
it's like a foundation to
Okay,
help
that's
the gorillas.
different.
Oh, okay.
But,
I thought
yeah.
they just had like
No.
a zoo on property or something.
No.
That's okay. That'd be great.
But they have access to gorillas, I would say.
They just have, okay, that's another level. If you have this gorilla sanctuary in Africa that you can just go to and just see your gorillas or whatever. Okay.
I mean, it's like in the wild, I think, but they have, I don't really know how it works. I'm guessing they like help sick gorillas too or something. I don't know. Back to the timeline. In 2012, Portia and Ellen signed on to a sitcom pilot for ABC, the channel ABC, called The Smart One, but it never came to fruition, I don't think.
I wonder what it would have been about.
Jumping ahead again, now we're in 2014, and they celebrate their 6th wedding anniversary. And Portia had the word 6 spelled in the sky from an airplane to celebrate.
Wow.
And apparently that's Portia's go-to gift for Ellen. She does skywriting a lot, or has skywriting done.
That is sweet the first time. But if it was like the 20th time my gift is just skywriting.
I don't know if it's 20 times, but
Okay,
a
but
handful of
imagine if
times,
that's
yeah.
the only gift you keep getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like once is special, twice is like, okay, kind of calling it back to the
Yeah.
other time.
Yeah.
Anything more than that is like, it's not environmentally,
Again.
it's not environmentally friendly as well.
I read that they have trouble giving each other gifts because Ellen is extremely wealthy, and so Portia is too, and so they don't really need anything. So I think Portia has to get really creative with her gifts for Ellen.
Clearly not that creative if she keeps doing
Yeah,
skywriting over and over again. Can't think of anything better than that, I guess. No offense
That
to
same
Portia.
year. Yeah, no. That same year, a source told People, a mysterious source, said, they've had their ups and downs. Portia has been very outspoken about previous issues like her eating disorder, and she's good at seeking help when she needs to. They've worked out difficulties in the past, and no doubt they're trying to work out any problems right now. So, sounds okay. A couple years later, in 2017, I don't know if this is credible at all, but Life and Style magazine wrote, a source tells Life and Style that the Ellen show crew would often overhear the duo's fights. Ellen hates that. She never wants people at work to know about her personal problems. And the source said it was a huge wake-up call for her. But who knows if it's true.
I don't think that's weird of her to not want people to hear them fighting, I guess.
I know. I mean, who wants that?
Nobody wants their coworkers or their employees hearing them have a domestic dispute.
Yeah. But it's also
really not weird.
It's normal for couples to fight. Like
It
that's
is
going to happen in any marriage.
I think the one thing is like, they shouldn't be fighting at work. But to be a talk show host, it's so much work. So I can imagine Ellen's probably just at the studio all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe this is also a factor in their relationship or whatever. So probably that's where they see each other a lot, or where Ellen is, because that's like a full-time job.
Yeah,
So maybe
exactly.
Portia comes for like lunch or whatever, and then a fight happens. So I could see why it could be happening there, but yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on what they're fighting about. I used to work with a man who every single time I walked by his desk, I could hear him on a call with his wife arguing with her, and it's like
every time.
Almost every time he was
my
always so upset.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, this is unprofessional. This is bad.
That is unprofessional. That's so funny. I'm curious what they were fighting about. Do you remember?
I don't know.
don't
He
have
was
to keep it in.
he was grumpy.
Well, so was Ellen, I guess.
Yeah.
She can be a little grumpy, I think. But she did say, of course, to People. She that same year talked about Portia and said, this is a long paragraph. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I can't imagine not being married. I have my best friend, the person I want to spend time with more than anybody else in this world. Portia and I constantly say to each other, we are so lucky. Sometimes it's lying in bed at night before I go to sleep, and I just say thank you to whoever is out there. I've gotten to a place where I really am just settled. She's not going anywhere.
That's sweet.
I do think Ellen is a bit spiritual, actually.
Yeah, I get that.
Surprisingly.
sense.
Yeah. And she's friends with Oprah, and so is Oprah. So,
Yeah.
In 2018, Portia announced that she had decided to quit acting.
Wow.
She had been on the show Scandal, actually, in recent years.
Oh.
And I don't think
know
as like
that.
a main role, and she approached 45 years old, and she said she wanted to do something else. Ellen had also sort of hinted at Portia hating to do press. I think Portia, this is me just like reading between the lines, and she didn't say this, but I think Portia does get pretty anxious from the whole deal of acting. And I don't know. I think she likes acting, but I think it makes her very stressed out too. And I don't know if she was getting as many jobs as she had hoped, or I'm not sure, but I think it just wasn't really working out anymore, you know? Mm-hmm. She did return to do Arrested Development when it came back, because, you know, there's so many like reboots and stuff. But besides that, she has retired from acting. And Ellen and Portia were doing a lot of philanthropy and charity work. As I said, they started the Ellen DeGeneres Wildlife Fund, which has like a gorilla sanctuary in Africa. And Portia is now the owner of General Public, an art curation and publishing company. And I feel like her and Ellen just have so much money. She can basically do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
So
She could probably just live off of Ellen's money, I would assume.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I didn't
do
have
anything.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, acting might have just been a job for her. Like, I feel like for a lot of people, if you didn't have to work, would you? A lot of people would say no. They would just do whatever they want.
True.
Yeah.
Especially because she's had an eating disorder. I don't think that Hollywood would be the healthiest place for her.
No.
I know. I think it's been hard for her.
And that probably would be part of her healing and her process of recovery, to probably also step away from the limelight.
Yeah.
I agree. This is the point in the episode where I wanted to talk about I couldn't really even find this time around researching, but I remember people on social media and such claiming that like Ellen doesn't let Portia work or something.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard that?
No.
Yes, I have heard that. That was like
That,
one
she
of the
keeps her at home, or
Yeah, that was like once Ellen was getting her backlash, that was one of the things. Like, and she's awful to Portia and hides her away in the house all day, and like, I don't know. You don't know, especially like with everything Portia has been through. You don't know what's going on in their life. She doesn't owe us her presence in the public life.
Yeah, I was trying to look this up, but I couldn't really find like any evidence that Ellen has done this. I mean, Ellen does make jokes sometimes. I think she's trying to make fun of like the patriarchal, typical heterosexual relationships where like she's the man, and as I said, like she's like, oh, she's my ball and chain or whatever. But Ellen's joking.
Yeah. She's making fun of husbands when she does that.
Yeah.
Like, that's who she's making fun of.
Yeah, and I think Portia did kind of struggle with acting and getting jobs and dealing with her mental health and everything. And so I think it just genuinely is true that Portia retired from acting. I don't really think it's like Ellen didn't want her to work.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I just haven't seen any like hard proof of that. So if anybody knows anything that I don't know, like tell us. But I think Portia kind of had some professional uncertainty. I don't know. I don't think she was like Emma Stone, you know, like getting nominated for Oscars all the time. Like she kind of struggled, I think, to get roles. So
Yeah.
for whatever reason. So that's just the reality of it. In 2018, also, same year that Portia retired, Ellen returned to stand up with the Netflix special Relatable, and is I listened to it, kind of watched it, listened to it, and it did make me laugh. And she kind of predicted her own downfall, though. She mentioned on the show how she had always ended her Ellen DeGeneres show by saying, be kind to one another.
Yeah.
And now that she has said that for years, she's the be kind girl, and now she can never be mean or get upset. Like, she can't honk in traffic and whatever. And I don't know if she herself kind of inspired the backlash with this joke of hers, because I feel like that in itself is like what led to her eventual so-called cancellation.
Yeah.
We're coming to that. We're almost there. But so 2020, February 2020, still in the innocent February 2020. We didn't know what was going to hit us yet. Ellen shared on her show that whenever Portia has to go out of town and I'm not with her, I surprise her and I call the hotel and set it up. They put a huge heart-shaped thing of rose petals on her bed, so when she walks into the room, the whole bed is covered with heart-shaped rose petals.
Oh,
Cute.
That's very cute. I know. They seem to like to do gestures to each other. It's sweet. I forget who was the guest on her show, but they were like, wow, like, what the heck? I don't do that. Like, and I don't know anyone that does that. Like, that's crazy. Because Ellen is extremely wealthy. Like, that was kind of part of the joke of her relatable show. Like, she acknowledged it in the beginning. I think she did a good job of it, but she was talking about how her friend said, how are you going to do stand-up? Like, you're not relatable anymore. She made a lot of jokes about, like, having a butler and blah, blah, blah. But I think it was all tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, because that is kind of the thing with stand-up. It's supposed to be very universal type humor that you can just be like, oh, this thing, everybody knows this, and we all deal with this, and isn't that funny or whatever. But you can't really do that if you're uber rich and you're like, and then my butler did this. Isn't that crazy? Don't we all know what it's like when your butler takes a day off and doesn't tell you? Ha ha ha, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that had happened, and so I think that was already rubbing people the wrong way. And then the pandemic hit.
yeah.
And then people just had a lot of time on their hands. And people started canceling each other left and right.
Yeah.
And Ellen became a target for people sifting through all of her interviews and tweeting about her. And I would say this was the second cancellation in Ellen's career.
Would you say the first was for being gay?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that was really a term back then, but yeah, I would say that she was canceled.
Yeah, she was literally canceled.
Yeah, literally.
Show was canceled.
Show was canceled. And then this happened. So yeah, people were talking about how, Ellen isn't as nice as you would think. And one thing that really spurred this discussion was when she had Dakota Johnson, the actress, on her show. And I have the clip, but you guys have probably seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true, Ellen. You were invited.
So I don't know if we should rewatch it right now, but I'll play the clip.
I wasn't
in case
invited.
anyone hasn't seen it.
That's my impression.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday. When was your birthday?
It was October 4th.
October 4th. You turned 30.
I did.
And how was the party? I wasn't invited.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
Well, who doesn't want to be invited to a party?
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Of course I like you. You knew I liked you. You've been on the show many times, and don't I show like? Yeah.
But I did invite you, and you didn't come. So.
This time you invited me?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How do you know? I don't think so.
Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer. Who said you were?
I was
he's
invited?
right there.
Why didn't I go?
I don't know.
Was it? Oh yeah, I had that thing. It was probably in Malibu. That's too far for me to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. No, I think I do remember I was invited. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How was the party? I wasn't invited. That's not true. I mean, you know what? I do feel bad for Ellen in this clip because everyone was like, oh,
Me too.
see, she's calling her out. But it's like, Ellen is a talk show host. A lot of these interactions with their guests are not scripted, but like, it's not a real conversation. Ellen is meant to entertain people, and sometimes that means being funny, and sometimes that is like making little jokes like that. Like, how's the party? I wasn't invited. Like, it's not. People are so stupid. Like, it's literally.
They're so stupid. She might have even known that she was invited, but just said that like to be funny.
And
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just kind of backfired because I guess Dakota Johnson just wasn't playing off of the joke or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or her
thought it was
dry humor just didn't match the tone that Ellen was.
Who, Dakota's?
Yeah, because Dakota's just
Didn't
dry
even seem
delivery.
Yeah.
It's not. Well, maybe she was
Humorous.
trying to be like, actually, you were invited, but it just came off like, actually, you were invited. I don't know. It just didn't come off right.
I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I find Dakota Johnson very weird in that interview. Kind of like a wet blanket.
Yeah.
She just took it way too seriously.
I think because there was something before where last time she was on it, Ellen was giving flack for not inviting her. So then the second time, Ellen was giving her flack for not inviting her. And she was like, but you were invited. I don't know. So
but Ellen is Ellen. Okay, like she is the host of this daily talk show. She sees so many people. She's like Oprah. I mean, do you really expect Ellen to go to like everything? She's probably so freaking busy. I know Oprah has talked about like how she has to say no to so many things.
Yeah,
like constantly. She's asked to do like 15 things a day. And I know that makes her like not relatable, but Ellen, you can't just like invite Ellen to your party and expect her to go.
I've seen Ellen make that joke with a lot of people because like that's like kind of a cliche thing. People talk about their big birthday party that they had on the talk show. And I have seen her make that joke. I wasn't invited. It's like, I just think it's like kind of a throwaway joke, especially when you do a talk show every single day. Sometimes you have to just like repeat those same like easy low-hanging fruit jokes. And like, maybe some people might think that's boring and hacky, but it's meant to be a comedy show. So what do you expect? I don't know.
I think also part of it is because maybe it's just continued Gen X humor or something like that, that maybe people or Gen Z don't find funny. And like you said, like it's low-hanging fruit. So they just don't take it as a joke, you know?
Someone in Ellen's position would have an assistant managing stuff like that too. So it would be really hard to remember what you are invited to.
Yeah.
Didn't someone say, maybe I'm pulling this out of my ass and maybe it's not real, that when she was supposed to go to the party, she was at that tennis game with George Bush or something?
Oh, maybe.
And so then people were like, even more like, ugh.
Yeah, I don't know what her deal is with George Bush.
Yeah, that's a little weird. But I think that was one of the reasons she was also getting canceled. I don't know if you were going to touch on that. Because she's friends with George Bush, even though their politics don't really align. So
I know. It's so weird because she seems to hate Trump, too. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
I feel like with Ellen, people were just like, I mean, I remember hearing, I actually had a falling out with a friend because she...
Because of Ellen?
She's not... Well,
because of Ellen?
It was about Ellen somewhat. She was like applying for this friend at the time. I wish her the best. I truly do. But she was applying for internships and she applied for Ellen and she thought she was going to get it and then she didn't get it. And I said, oh, I actually have heard rumors that she might be a bit of a diva. This was way before this. This was like 2016.
Oh, wow.
And the friend kind of got mad at me and was like, no, she's not a diva, like blah, 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 blah. And I was just saying that to be helpful, you know? Oh, maybe it's for the best that you didn't get it. And anyways, that was kind of like the end of our friendship. But again, I wish her the best. But
what? That was the end of your friendship? That's an insane reason.
No. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, okay, I was trying to be nice by saying something to comfort you, and you're getting mad at me about it. So I was like,
weird.
Wish you the best, but we don't need to be friends
anymore.
Ellen. Yeah, but it was like literally, it was over Ellen.
That's so crazy.
And then it was just so funny because then 4 years later, like, everyone was canceling Ellen for being a diva. And I was like,
but weirdly,
So I
I
was
feel like
right.
I feel like you were like sticking up for Ellen. Weirdly,
I am. Well, yeah. I just said that, like, oh, maybe it's for the best that you don't work for her.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's just the way it is. A lot of people in positions like her are kind of a strict boss. And I mean, it's kind of natural to like hate the person at the top in any working condition. And sometimes like they might be creating a toxic work environment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are a bad person. It is people should always strive to be better. They should always strive to be a good leader and be nice to people. But I just feel like the uproar about Ellen's behavior was like disproportionate to what she actually did.
Happened?
And I think a lot of it comes from a place where they were holding her to a different standard because of what you said. She was the be kind lady and she was funny. And when someone who is always funny and seen as, you know, let's say Jack Black suddenly was like a dick to you, you would be like, what?
Yeah.
Like, but we don't own these people. They are not obligated to be funny and nice all the time.
Ellen has said like people when they would see her would always tell her to dance or expect her to dance or just expected her to be funny, and I think that might have really started to aggravate her and become difficult, like, because she is just a real human being. But her character on the show is very, I mean, pulls pranks and everything, but kind of like wholesome type of humor, and it's not really who Ellen is. It really isn't. I think in real life she is like more, I don't know, crass, but like down to earth and just like normal. So what you were saying, there's like two things happening at the same time when this goes down. There's people talking about how Ellen isn't nice, and it really kicks off because this guy, so-called comedian Kevin T. Porter, started a Twitter thread where he said, Ellen DeGeneres is notoriously one of the meanest people alive. Everybody tell me your stories of when Ellen was mean or something. And it got like 70,000 likes, and all these people were responding to it, telling stories about Ellen. Some people saying like she was told to never look her in the eyes when she was on the Ellen show, and another person claimed that every day Ellen picked someone different to hate, and that Ellen had someone fired for wearing chipped nail polish while serving her food. However, there's no proof to any of this. Like, it's all just tweets, you know? I mean, some of it could be true, but like it's really just random people tweeting stuff. We don't know if any of this is true. It could be totally made up. But simultaneously, there were these news reports coming out that crew members on the Ellen show were saying that producers had not treated them well during the pandemic, like that they didn't tell them anything about the status of their working hours, pay, inquiries about their mental and physical health or whatever. And then people were saying that some of the executives on the Ellen show were problematic, that there were incidents of harassment and sexual misconduct and assault from top producers, specifically from the executive producer Kevin Lehman, executive producer Ed Glavin, and co-executive producer Jonathan Norman for inappropriate behavior. So like all of this is coming out that there's like a toxic work environment, but like, is it really Ellen's fault? And like, that's up for debate, but I do think it's like a tough situation because Ellen is just a comedian. She's not really like a business person. Like, we don't know how involved she really is with like this whole show and these guys, and if she was okay with it or whatever. But I feel like two things were happening at the same time where people were saying like Ellen's mean, and then there was like, oh, this whole thing about the workplace. And that really sucks if people were being assaulted and such, but it wasn't like Ellen was doing it. And I don't even know if Ellen necessarily knew.
Yeah. And I mean, stuff like that is tricky in the workplace because if there's an investigation going on, like Ellen is only probably privy to so much information. And
yeah, I was wondering, like, is Ellen even the boss technically, or is it like the network?
Yeah, I don't know how that works in network TV.
I don't know. Like, if she's also a producer, maybe she's also technically kind of a boss.
Obviously, she has power.
I think that's why people assume, even if she didn't really know what was happening, she might have been involved in their hiring, or if that's going on in your company, if it was kind of a part of her company, or if she owned any sort of stake in it, and you had your name attached to it, then there is some liability. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, but I guess we just don't know behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, how much she was involved. And, like, they had to do an investigation before getting these people fired. And, you know, like, we don't know, like, in terms of it getting leaked to the press, how long it had been going on for and what people know or don't know. I mean, this happens in workplaces. And
It does.
it happens sometimes oblivious to other people.
I can just imagine I guess I'll say, like, places I've worked, or maybe you guys can relate, like, I do think sometimes the highest up don't know what's going on.
They have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, they don't. I think people don't want them to know sometimes that, like, it's such a shit show, or maybe they're afraid to complain, or I don't know, or it just maybe the people seem way too busy. It's like I can't bother them, or I don't know. I can believe that maybe she didn't know. I could be being way too gracious here, but just from my experience in, like, corporate settings, and at the end of the day, this is just a business. Like, I can just imagine that people wouldn't know everything going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do believe, like, she was not a great boss, but that's the case for a lot of people. A lot of people are bad bosses, good people. We've all worked with someone like that, and I don't necessarily mean that means that the whole world has to hate them for it.
Yeah.
I think it was just so many things at once. Like you said, that, and it was the Dakota Johnson maybe mean to some past celebrity guests thing. Because I think there was another...
And Ellen said that quarantine felt like jail.
Yeah, so there was that. Yeah, a lot to do with COVID restrictions and filming from her house, and lots that people didn't like about that. And I think there was some pressure with, I think, forcing Mariah Carey to announce pregnancy or something. So there was
really?
past things that were coming
an
out
old
as
thing?
well. Yeah, like old things where I think somehow got Mariah Carey to announce that she was pregnant, and then Mariah Carey, before she was ready to, and then Mariah Carey ended up having a miscarriage. So then it just became kind of...
Well, that's not Ellen's fault.
Well, it was Ellen for forcing that information out of her. But anyway.
Yeah.
And then there was, like, that George Bush thing. So there was just a lot going on at once, because everybody was kind of digging up dirt on Ellen. So it was just a lot all at once.
I feel like this just keeps getting more and more intensified in the age of social media. Like, you get one little thing that's bad about someone, and then it snowballs, and then all of a sudden, like, we are pulling every single moment when they said something wrong or they came across unlikable. And if you're a talk show host like Ellen, you're gonna have so many... so much footage of you where, like, maybe that day
tens
you're
of thousands
not...
of hours.
Yeah, and, like, you're gonna be able to find clips where you're being rude, because we're all rude sometimes.
Especially since her career stretched on for decades at that point.
Yeah.
And obviously she was working before it was, even as a lesbian woman, like, before it was encouraged to be PC, you know?
Yeah. I kind of feel like people do this with every single talk show host nowadays. Like, maybe not like Kelly Clarkson or Jennifer Hudson, but especially the late night talk show hosts, everyone acts like they are all scum of the earth. I know. Like, one of them where you're like, I hate Jimmy Fallon. I hate him. I hate James Corden. I hate him. And it's what? For what?
Okay, I will say I don't really like some of them, but I think it's just because people find them annoying. I think that's it.
But it's just like,
I know, and then I think people want to validate their uncomfortable feelings or whatever, so they try to find some, like, instead of just admitting that you're kind of uptight or a jerk or something for just finding someone annoying, it's like, no, I have to find a reason why they are the problem, and like, dig through interviews. And justify
it's
your dislike for somebody.
Just don't watch them. But I feel like, especially kind of being a talk show host is a hard job. Like, my brother's a stand-up comedian. And, like, the amount, I mean, obviously these talk show hosts do have writers, but, like, it is hard to be funny all the time. And they're doing shows 5 days a week. So there's going to be times when, like, your jokes just, like, aren't funny and, like, they miss. And, like, that's a part of the job. You don't know what is going on in their lives. They can be having a terrible day. It's like someone in their life is dying and they have to show up and make you laugh. That's not always going to come across perfectly the way you would want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree. Like, I'm sure, as I said, like, I do think Ellen can be grumpy and, like, a I hate people type of person. I do. And I can imagine that she can be sharp with people sometimes. And after all of this was coming out, Portia did defend her wife, Ellen. She posted an image on Instagram that read, "I stand by Ellen," with the caption, "To all our fans, ... we see you. Thank you for your support. Hashtag stop bot attacks. Hashtag I stand with Ellen DeGeneres. Hashtag I stand by Ellen. Hashtag I stand by Ellen DeGeneres." So she's showing her support for her wife. And on top of all of this, Ellen and Portia's home was actually burglarized that summer, 2022. And apparently they were home while it happened. Ellen did apologize more than once, and staffing changes were made, but still, Ellen announced in May 2021 that her talk show was ending after nearly 2 decades. And Portia did come on one of the very last episodes, and I thought it was very sweet, and it could have been just for damage control for Ellen's reputation, I think, but Portia did really, like, talk highly of Ellen in this clip, so this is, I think, my last clip that I'm going to play.
I think so.
So here it is.
Hi.
Hi.
What do you want to talk about?
Really? Well, you.
Okay.
Actually.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Talk about stuff.
Like what?
Well, let's see. Well, I know you better than anyone. I think you'd agree.
Yes, you do. You know
Yeah.
me better than anyone.
Better than anyone. And there's certain things that I think other people should know about. Like, for example, this woman never reads her own press, ever. She just doesn't. I read it for her sometimes, but she never reads it. What else? She has no idea how many awards she's won. She doesn't even care to tell me when she's nominated for something, ever. And then when she comes home from work, she never talks about the celebrity guest. She always talks about that special person that was in this chair that really affected her and touched her because they did something amazing for other people. And that's what she talks about. It's true. It's true. Yeah.
It's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then think about
What
it like
else?
that. Well, I want to say, because, you know, obviously it's weird to interview her because I know everything about her, so to ask questions is silly. But this is really, you came into my life on the 2nd season of this show. We've been together for 17 years.
And a half.
And so, and a half.
Yeah.
So with this show ending, you know, it's actually, you know, a big thing for both of us because you've watched me go through everything with this show. But I learned today, that, which I didn't know, there's a story of watching me the first show on the first season.
Yeah, so, you know, I was an actress and I was closeted. And Ellen was kind of like the litmus test for young actors in Hollywood because we just, you know, her success meant so much to us. It kind of meant, can I be authentic and honest and still be able to pay the rent, you know? So I remember watching the first episode of this show, standing the entire time. And I remember, I was alone, I remember saying out loud to the TV, "She did it." And yeah, because, I mean, you could just feel the magic. Oh my gosh, I'm emotional already. That's terrible. No, but you can feel the magic in the show. And I just knew that it was going to be around for as long as you wanted it to be.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that that's how you watch the show. I didn't know you didn't have furniture then, but
I feel like Ellen looked so small and kind of sad,
I know.
but maybe touched in that clip.
It's very old.
Yeah, she's older.
Yeah.
Old and kind of tired, but
She does
I
look
think
tired.
Yeah.
kind of worn.
It's good that she doesn't
Yeah.
read press about her, though.
Yeah. Which
About
is kind of
herself.
surprising. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought she felt like the person who would have, but I guess that's good that she doesn't.
I mean, this is my thing about you. You just said that Ellen was old, so that made me think of this. My thing with Ellen and why I think people need to kind of chill out is, and I've said this before on the podcast, I know that when she dies, which, guys, it will happen someday. I mean, she is in her 60s. It could be next year. It could be 20 years from now. But when it happens...
God.
Okay. Cut that out.
Tomorrow? No, keep it. Keep it.
No, but life is short. Life is
People
short.
need to know it could really happen.
Yes. And I know when Ellen dies someday, the switch up is going to be so fucking fast. You guys are
I
going
know.
to be mourning. You're going to be grieving because someone who was in your home, in your living room for all this time, who made you laugh, at some point she made you laugh. I don't know when it was. I don't know when it stopped, but she did. She made you laugh. And you guys are going to be like, oh my God, she was my childhood.
I know.
She was my this, she was my that. And you know what? I don't want to hear it because
Yep.
you have to give people their grace and their forgiveness and empathy while they are alive. It happens all the time with these celebrities. You guys act like you were a fan all along, even though you were making fun of them or canceling them. And sometimes it's for a good reason. I was a little surprised, don't cancel me, when Michael Jackson died and everyone acted like they were like the biggest Michael Jackson fan in the whole world.
Yeah. No, me
And it's
too.
like, oh, for the last 10 years, you guys have been kind of like making fun of him. Or, I mean, with, I think, good reason. You know, he did have some very problematic stuff going on.
Yeah.
But it always happens. And I know for sure it's going to happen with Ellen someday.
I've already heard a little bit of a switch up, but not in a necessarily good way. But I think it could lead to a full-blown
switch up?
resurgence of her career potentially. The only thing is that I've seen is people are saying like, oh, we need to bring Ellen back, or there was a reason Ellen was around, or it was a good thing she was around because because she was important to the landscape of pop culture in a way, because there would be all these like micro celebrities and micro people who got viral, and then they would go on to Ellen and they would become like instantly forgettable, or like their 15 minutes of fame would go away. But now without Ellen, they're not going on her show. They now just continue on the online, and they like get podcasts and they do this, and they just don't go away. Like their 15 minutes of fame don't end. And people are like, Ellen used to basically like invite them on, and then the joke would be kind of over, and that would be it. And people would get their fill of that person,
Like those
and then
little
we
girls.
we would never hear of those people
forget what
ever
they're
again. And so people are like, if only Ellen was still around when Hawk Tuah or whatever came out.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then the joke would be ruined after that.
Yeah, it's like kind of like we don't know where to...
But
Yeah, it's like we don't know where to put these people now.
yeah,
Like, put them on Ellen so that they can disappear into the ether of, like...
exactly.
Yep.
So I've
Yeah.
seen that. I've seen people talking about that. So the opinion is kind of changing a little bit, and it could lead to, again, further down the line, maybe a resurgence of her career. I don't know. I don't even know if she really wants that completely, because she is getting older, and maybe she is ready to just retire. But the opinion, I guess, publicly could change.
I just feel like her impact on society at large has been generally so positive, regardless of her being cranky. And like, there's so many people probably in Hollywood. There's so many people in Hollywood who are probably accepted as the way they are, and people say, "Oh, that's just so and so," and they're probably all men. and they are respected for it. Like nobody is out here being like, oh my God, Simon Cowell is such a jerk, terrible person to work for. I mean, people are saying that, but no one wants to like cancel him for it. Gordon Ramsay, all these people who are like kind of like beloved sometimes for being assholes, but Ellen is not given that. She's held to a different standard.
I know. I'm not sure what punishment I think is adequate for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was time to end her show anyway, even though it's kind of sad. But I do think that Ellen deserves so much more respect than she's getting.
Yeah.
For her whole career and just even what she's done for like LGBT recognition and everything. And it makes me sad that people are just willing to like throw that away or not care about it. But I hope that like in a couple of years she gets some kind of like Lifetime Achievement Award at, I don't know, the Oscars or something, or Emmys. I don't know what it would be, because I think she deserves it, and I think something like that would heal this.
Yeah. Before all this, Obama gave her the
freedom or something.
Yeah, which was sweet. But it kind of reminds me of like I think I might have said this on the podcast before too, when Lizzo was getting bad press for her lawsuit from her dancers a couple years ago, and I feel like there was such an uproar about that, partially because people expected so much of Lizzo because she was a role model for people for body positivity. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like when people like switched up on her so fast, I was suspicious of them because it's like, kind of seems like you've been waiting to hate Lizzo and you're excited for this. And is it because she's overweight? You're like excited to suddenly like have an excuse to hate her. And I feel like maybe the same with Ellen. Like, are people like, she is gay? And people are like, I mean, obviously, I know a lot of people in the LGBT community probably are like, this is not who we want to represent us. And I can see it also being from like, okay, we are tired of the fact that we've only really had a couple role models so far. But I feel like a lot of other people probably, it was some of their old homophobia and misogyny coming back to hate her.
She has said that she, quote, got kicked out of show business for being mean. But she also has said that she didn't feel like the show was challenging herself anymore. So, I mean, that might be kind of an excuse, but she says that that's like kind of the reason she ended the show. She did say after the show ended that after her existing contractual obligations ended, that she would be leaving show business for good. And so as a result, her final stand-up special called For Your Approval for Netflix came out in 2024, and then she officially retired from show business.
I watched that.
Yeah, I just watched it.
I was laughing.
Yeah, I thought in the beginning she seemed a little bit sad.
Yeah.
It was making me sad, like especially compared to her old stuff. I was like, oh, she seems sad. But then she definitely got into a groove. And I liked this part where she said, had I ended my show saying, go fuck yourselves, people would have been pleasantly surprised to find out I'm kind.
Yeah.
So just about, like, the expectation she set up for herself. That
would have been funny if she did do that. She should.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, she couldn't have. It was.
I know, but I feel like that's such a
network TV.
I feel like that's also such a New England Boston type thing where it's like, go fuck yourself, It's like,
I think I accidentally said it with kind of an accent. She didn't say it that way. Yeah.
So I've been like, oh, Ellen, thank you. Like, I don't know. It's kind of endearing, but
it would be cool if Ellen came back with like a more edgy, approach. Like, what if she was mean this time?
She made me have to wait a little bit. Maybe it'd be too soon.
Okay, she is 66 though, so like, I don't know.
So what, she gonna be like?
Maybe she should just be retired.
Betty White age, and she's coming out being like, "Fuck you, fuck you," and, like I don't know.
Well, she doesn't have to be like that, but she could be more like Howard Stern or something, just like not really giving a fuck, I don't know. But she could just enjoy her retirement, because also Ellen and Portia, they have recently moved to the Cotswolds in England, like in the countryside. And they just seem kind of done with Hollywood and fame and all of that. And I think it's kind of cool.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up, I have heard a lot of people say that they fled the country because of Diddy, P. Diddy, and an association with him. I guess like they did go to Diddy parties, or maybe Ellen did. But I feel like,
why is this coming up again?
I know, 2 episodes in a row. But I feel like I've heard Ellen say a lot of stuff about how like her and Portia would always like leave parties early. Like they definitely didn't seem like people that probably were in the actual shit that was going down. I feel like they probably were like the celebrities that are like at the beginning of the party and then like head home at 9 p.m.
I mean, when did they move? I feel like it was like quite before this. But all I saw about Ellen and Puff Daddy was that she, I think like years ago, had I know him as Puff Daddy, honestly. It's kind of, it's weird to call him Diddy.
Weird to call him Puff Daddy. I don't know.
She had tweeted something like, oh, Puff Daddy, aka Diddy, aka Sean, aka, and then I'm paraphrasing. I don't quite remember what it was, but then she said, or like Cuddles Snuffleupagus or something, as I call him. And so people were like taking that as like, oh, Ellen like knew something, like whatever. But I don't know. I feel like that could have just been her being weird and like making fun of all of his names. Like I don't know. That's all I really saw.
I don't know. Like, when it comes to celebrities, I think a lot of them are close, but it's almost like a coworker in the land of Hollywood. These are people that you know and you're acquainted with, and you might, like, put on a public perception of being friendly with them because it's almost like you're all, like, characters on this big TV show that is Hollywood, but I don't think you actually know that many people that deeply.
Yeah, it seems kind of like high school to me. Mm-hmm. And if someone is like hosting the prom after party and everybody's there, I don't know if that means you're like friends with them. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I'm making too many excuses, but I don't know. I just don't really see it. But
maybe they'll release the list and we'll be wrong. But
well, oh, I hope not. I also hope this stops coming up.
I know.
Just stop doing modern couples, I guess. And
I guess
we'll have
so.
to
Yeah.
mention it,
Yeah. Once again, Marie Antoinette, she's good. She's not. I mean, she had scandal herself, of course.
She's not hanging out with Diddy, I guess.
She was canceled in a way, but
in a huge way, yeah.
Yeah. Cancellation led to her death.
Well, I guess I interpreted them moving to England as they both are retired now, and they're both kind of like, F this, let's leave. And it seems like they have friends in England. I saw like a picture of them at like a pub with some people. Like, I don't know. So it seems like they're having a good time. And I would do the same thing too. I want to move to England.
Recently celebrated their 20th wedding anniversary or something like that?
They've been together 21 years.
Okay.
And it seems like they're going well. Yeah, Portia just recently, this January, posted a video montage of Ellen working out and captioned it, "My darling wife, you continue to amaze me and inspire me. Happy birthday to the strongest, sweetest, most brilliant person I know. I'm so lucky to be standing next to you as we share this incredible life together. I love you."
That's
Heart.
cute.
And yeah, I think they seem very connected, very attached at the hip, and they're still together. And that's what I have to say about Ellen and Portia.
Wasn't there something Dad saw in People magazine where Ellen came back from London, or was it that Ellen went to London?
I think they did come back briefly for a visit. Yeah, and Ellen has gray hair now. Like,
oh,
just
really?
salt and
I'll
pepper.
have to look this up.
Yeah, she stopped dyeing her hair blonde.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I know. I was like, Dad, how do you know that? What the hell?
I know. Dad's been. He was reading the Taylor Swift People magazine that we had for a while this morning. He's been reading because, Mel, your mom gives us like a million People magazines.
I know.
And my parents read all of them all at once. So then they just have all this pop culture information, like, suddenly.
Like a backlog of information. That's so funny.
Yes.
I know. My mom saves, like, every single magazine because she's like, oh, Karen wants this. And I don't know if your mom really does. But
I don't think she does, but they read them, so
Yeah.
I guess they do.
I appreciate it. I like reading the People magazines when we're home.
I was doing all of the crosswords.
Yeah.
I was doing the crosswords.
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, we did like all of them. It's fun.
Yeah, that is kind of fun to read them all at once, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like because of this podcast, and not even that, I just feel like I am tapped into celebrity culture and like what goes on. I actually do read people.com like once a day. Like I just like skim the articles and see what's happening with these famous people, and I sometimes feel a little embarrassed by how much I know about celebrities. And when a celebrity like casually comes up in conversation and like someone has like a little piece of information wrong, I just like can't help myself to like correct them and then like start like going like into the lore of something like way too in depth, and people are like, oh, that's interesting.
I think this has happened to me too recently, but I can't think of any specific examples, but this has definitely happened.
I wish when a celebrity comes up I actually knew less. Like it almost is never the case.
I feel like Dakota Johnson in that one clip. I'm like, actually, that's not the truth.
Yeah, literally, that's me. But if I know something is wrong, what do I'm not just going to let you spread false information.
No, yeah, I think you should speak up. It's fine. Well, that's it. Whew.
Wow.
It's a long one.
Well, it's so sweet they're still together through all that.
It is.
Chances they're going to get a divorce?
Oh. Usually we do odds they stay together. We don't say odds they get divorced.
Odds they're going to stay together.
I don't want to jinx them, but I think they're pretty solid. I would say 50-50.
Oh, 50.
Well, I know it's so tough in Hollywood, you know?
It's hot. It's tough.
I was going to say 80-20, I guess.
Yeah.
80 in their favor.
I'll say 60% chance they stay together.
Yeah.
Oh,
Till
you guys
death
do
do us part.
not have much faith.
Girl, if they were regular people, I would say much higher, but
I know, but at the
these are
same
celebrities.
time, I know. But I think because they've been together 20 years, and I think also it helps that they're in a same-sex couple, I think those do better or have better chance. So that's why I'm giving them more of a chance, but who knows?
That's good. You're very optimistic, and I love that about you. It's purely because they're famous. Like, I wouldn't say this if they weren't, but it's just, you can't really bet on celebrity couples, unfortunately.
Yeah. You can't.
Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Kelly. Do you want to tease us for next week?
Next week's couple, which will be on Patreon, is another same-sex couple.
Ooh.
And they have, coincidentally, I didn't really mean to do this, but they've had a lot of controversy as well. And this couple's a little different. They're in the fashion world.
Nice.
I'll say that. So that'll be next week.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thanks. And we'll see you then.
Yep. We'll get back together next week.
Bye.
Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I come back again? Tell